Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be for another installment of Own It and Never Falking Seen It. And I know, guys, it's been a while. I mean, I did do that one sort of random one with Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but like I said in my update, I'm going to try to get this segment back on track. I'm going to try to do at least once a week. Starting off with a film, if you guys remember, way back in July, I was supposed to review this film, that of course being A Fistful of Dollars, and I simply didn't, I never really got around to finishing it. Not because I didn't want to, I just simply didn't have enough time, whether it was a 2017 film or watching a franchise or a TV show. I just did not have any time to fin Own or Falking Seen It, but I'm going to rectify that, like I said, starting off with A Fistful of Dollars. And what A Fistful of Dollars is essentially about is we center on our main character, the man with no name. He basically goes into this new territory where he ends up entangled with these two rival bands of smugglers, and they're very vicious, and they both end up giving him a large amount of money if he allies with them, and he's kind of caught in the middle of this and has to try to decide really where he stands here. So, A Fistful of Dollars overall, I really didn't know much going into this movie. Obviously, when most people think about Westerns, I do think Clint Eastwood is one of the first things that does come to name. And I bought this Blu-ray specifically for that reason. I'm not a huge Western person. I'm really not. But these are films I've wanted to watch for a very long time. I remember when for like $10 on Amazon, I'm like, I might as well get it. And, ever since then, I've been wanting to watch these films. I have kind of seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but I didn't, like I said, back in my other Own Never Falking Scene review when I reviewed Oblivion, I never really got the full appreciation for it, so I figured I would watch A Fistful of Dollars to start things off, because that is the first movie with this character, and I have to say, while it's not a great movie, it definitely is a damn good film. I really did enjoy this movie overall. I think it is a very solid start to this trilogy, and we're just getting into right now, starting off with the cast. And I'm going to say right off the bat, because of the fact that this film is technically an American version of what was an Italian film, it is a little bit difficult to talk about the cast, simply because I am not sure if the people we're hearing through the voiceover are the same as the actors that are being credited on screen. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, but regardless of that, we are getting in the cast, and easily, I mean, the thing that people come to when they see these movies, they want to see Clint Eastwood, and they absolutely should, because he steals the entire show in this movie. I mean, the second the man with no name shows up, we are immediately drawn into him. He comes into this land, and he doesn't really know what to do, and you can see throughout the film he's really struggling with which side to pick. Both groups really do give him compelling arguments and reasons to follow them, and you really don't know where he's going to go throughout the film, and I definitely really did love seeing that. I like seeing who he is. He's someone who is the toughest guy and also the smartest guy in the room, and he's very well aware of that, but he's not really cocky about it. He is, for the most part, a very good-natured guy. He's just someone who very much knows what he wants, and he knows when to get shit done. He's someone that you definitely don't want to mess with, and he is an absolute badass, and I think he really did a great job here. I thought he definitely was easily the best part of this film. It's very easy to tell why Clint Eastwood is so beloved as this character, because he is so he just is so intimidating, and he is very well handled here. But like I said, he easily steals this film for me, and I really did love what we got from him. Here he was fantastic. Now, the rest of the cast here, they're fine. I think everyone did do a suitable job. No one on Eastwood's level, for sure. Eastwood pretty much, I think, outshines everyone else in this movie, but there still are some very good roles here. I really did like the main actor who played, the villain in this movie. I thought he especially was very strong. Gian Volonte, he definitely was really great here. The other characters, like I said, they do a good job for the most part. They play the parts they need to play, and I did think that overall, everyone did do a pretty good job here. So now let's get to the directing and the writing, because that is definitely something I definitely want to talk about. Sergio Leone, when people think of Western, this is one of the names that comes to mind. He's one of the most well-known spaghetti Western directors, and that's very understandable, because he does a really great job directing this movie. Everything you could think of in a Western movie, this movie does have. All the typical genre conventions. The tone is spot on, and That's something I really do love. There's a lot of tension presented throughout the story. There's a lot of suspense, and it is definitely very well executed in that manner. And I really did love his directing here. I thought his tone was very well realized. The script, on the other hand, I did think the script was very well conveyed. I definitely did enjoy the main story here. I will say one of my bigger flaws with this movie is, some stuff in the story. The main story, while interesting, the characters just don't really leave much of an impact on you. They very much just feel like, your typical band of robbers and just kind of just causing tons of havoc and things like that. There's really not much to any of the characters, and you could say the same for the man with no name, but I feel like for that character it works, because really that character is less of a character and more of the audience. He really is us. I mean, think about it. He's someone who, he's like the American outsider who's going to this uncharted territory, doesn't really know what he's getting himself into, has to really make a strategic decision. I mean, we're very much with him throughout the film, and I think that's why this character is nameless here. Now, they do drop a few hints as to what his name may be, but throughout most of the movie, he's just known as the Stranger, and I think it works because it's less about who the character is and more just seeing him as sort of, like I said, the audience. And I think that works very well here. And tying that into this film, quite literally, he is the American outsider, because the history of Clint Eastwood in this film is honestly very fascinating. I really didn't know this going into it, but apparently Sergio Leone is a Italian director, to a T. I mean, obviously, the spaghetti western literally translates into a Italian director who is directing a western film. That is basically what a spaghetti western is, but this one was almost completely Italian. Clint Eastwood was really the only person who wasn't of some Italian descent. So basically, he wandered onto this as an outsider, similar to how he wanders onto the film as an outsider. So if you guys don't know, almost everything in this movie was recorded completely silent. Why? Because Clint Eastwood couldn't communicate with them at all. He had no way of really vocalizing how he felt or any of that stuff. He was completely, just completely taken aback. He had no sort of Italian descent of any kind. I thought it was honestly very interesting to hear about that. Most times when you see a film, they at least have some knowledge of the culture, but Clint Eastwood came onto a set with a bunch of people speaking a language that he really had no prior knowledge of. So he really, quite literally, was an outsider here, like I said. And because of that, there is a lot of ADR in this movie. And I'm not going to lie to you, it is honestly very distracting. I think a lot of the ADR here, you can tell they recorded it after, especially the English dub. And again, I don't know if the English dub is the same actor, but you can tell when there's some of the characters, when they're moving their lips, really does not go with the ADR, and there isn't really a way to avoid that. Obviously, when you're doing a foreign film, you're making an American version, there's going to be a dub, and there's going to be an ADR. That's something that you just kind of have to take note of. However, you have to try to do the best you can to match what the characters are saying, with the, movements, with the lip movements conveyed on screen, because a lot of the characters, it really doesn't match up well at all. You can tell that really is not what they're saying. Clint Eastwood, I think, is really the only person who it matched up perfectly. And why is that? Well, it's because he didn't record his lines until the American version actually came out. And I think because of that, he knew what he was going to say, and I don't know, he just seemed light years ahead of everyone in this movie, and that is definitely something that that very much did stick out to me. Also, I will say there are some things you can complain about, especially in regards to the main female in this movie, who I'm not saying is bad. I mean, her character, she's really just your typical Marisol. She really is just your typical sort of damsel in distress who she gets captured a lot, and the stranger has to rescue her, and all that kind of stuff goes down. And there's really not much else to her than that. And that's not a complaint on the character. It's a complaint of the genre in general. The genre in general, doesn't really have a lot of roles for women. Then that's just kind of the case. And again, that's not really a problem. It was just the time period, and that's just something that most Westerns are known to do now. There are some that nowadays will try to revert that a little bit and kind of, put their own spin on it, but most Westerns, classic Westerns, don't really have very big roles for women, and, that's understandable given the nature of the time period and things like that. So again, that's not necessarily something that did bother me. The cinematography here, I think, is fantastic. You really do feel like you're in that Western landscape, and especially the way the first scene is done. I love how much the movie really takes its time to just get us to take in all of this territory, essentially. We see the landscape, and very quickly this situation ensues, and you see just how corrupted this town really is, and it just perfectly puts us into this very violent area, and I thought that was honestly very well handled. I love the cinematography. I think it is incredibly well done, this movie. There are so many awesome action scenes and so many great gun shootouts and just great stuff when it comes to that. So I thought the cinematography was great here. The score is extremely underrated. I don't hear anybody talk about the score for this movie, but it is so memorable. After watching this movie, I think I'm definitely going to be whistling the score for a while, for many weeks to come. I really enjoyed the score here. Really great stuff. And the editing. The editing for me, this movie really did fly by. There really wasn't a point where I wasn't into this movie. I think it honestly, got more and more interesting as it did go on, and that's something I definitely really did enjoy. The editing for me, like I said, the movie really did fly by. I will admit, the first, I'd say, 20 minutes or so, it did take me a little while to get into it, but that's, again, because of the fact that the stranger, he's trying to get into all this. He's trying to figure out really what's going on, and as the film goes on, it gets more and more interesting. That's something I definitely really did enjoy, and the climax of this film is epic. I really love the way the climax was done. It shows how much of a badass the stranger is, but it also shows that he's not perfect. He does sometimes make mistakes. He can be somewhat vulnerable. He does get himself into some situations. At the end of the day, he's going to walk away victorious, but he does have some vulnerability in him, and I think that definitely was very well handled here. Overall, guys, Fistful of Dollars is a very well done film. It's not a great movie by any means, especially because of the ADR, like I said, which is pretty terrible, and some of the characters not really leaving much of an impression at all. Like I said, I think the stranger really is the standout in this movie, and that's really what people come to see. You're gonna watch this movie because you want to see Clint Eastwood be a badass, and that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get an amazing performance from Clint Eastwood. You're gonna get some great Western stuff. It's a fun watch overall. It's something that I very much did enjoy watching for sure. I'm very interested in seeing how the rest of the movies in this series do end up holding up, and I am gonna give A Fistful of Dollars overall a B. So normally, guys, now would be the point where I would tell you what the next movie I'm going to review is, but I actually already know what the next movie I'm reviewing is, and that is because of the fact that, I don't know if you guys know this, but because of the fact that Avengers Infinity War is coming out, I am going to do the Marvel Challenge, which is essentially to watch at least one Marvel movie per week, and I'm going to do that. I'm planning on reviewing Iron Man at the end of this week, and then, later in the week, I will be reviewing The Incredible Hulk. I recently got it on Blu-ray, so that will be my next Own It, Never Falking, Seen It. And then, once that's done, I will go back to, I just randomly pick one, from randomizer.com, and that's the one that I do end up picking. But either way, guys, in my review, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall, left your thoughts, and I really did have a great time with this movie for sure. I thought there was a lot of enjoyable stuff here. But that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.